A few years ago, I made a video talking about my top 10 favorite movies of the year, and even though that video was wildly successful, I wanted to do something a little different this year. So I made a few categories, a few superlatives, and paired up the movies that I wanted to talk about. So here we go. Old sucks. It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It's directed by M. Night Shyamalan, and I was tempted to say that he should know better, but the last decade and a half, he's proven that he's a bad filmmaker with a few hits, not a good filmmaker with a few duds. So no, he shouldn't know better. He's doing exactly what he knows how to, which is make terrible movies. Annette, on the other hand, was simply too idiosyncratic and weird for me. Outside of the scenes where Adam Driver does stand-up, which are actually kind of awesome, the movie was just plain boring, and it's one of the few times I've ever walked out of the theater. Shout out to my friend Greg, who noticed me falling asleep and suggested we leave. No Time to Die was supposed to come out in 2020, but got delayed specifically so that it could be shown in theaters, and I'm really glad it was, because watching this at home just wouldn't have been the same. I got a group of friends together and we had a great time watching Daniel Craig get the send-off he deserved. Godzilla vs. Kong was great because just the sheer scale of the monsters. This is the type of movie that is literally made to be shown on a 40-foot screen. I didn't grow up watching WWE, but I assume it was a lot like this movie. Stupid and awesome. King Richard is about Venus and Serena Williams' childhood, and specifically the way their dad played a pivotal role in helping them become the greatest tennis players of all time. Will Smith plays the dad, and he's excellent, which, sadly, isn't something that we can take for granted anymore. I think he'll definitely be in the running for Best Actor. And who doesn't love a good sports movie? The Power of the Dog is also pretty good. It's a western starring Benedict Cumberbatch, Kirsten Dunst, and Jesse Plemons. Like Will Smith, Cumberbatch is excellent, and I assume he'll be probably the frontrunner for Best Actor. The Power of the Dog is much more subtle, though, and for lack of a better term, artsy, so I don't think most people will love it. It was described as a slow burn, and at the end of the movie, I wasn't even sure what burned. If you haven't heard of this one, you'll hear a lot about it in a couple of months. Dune! This movie kicks ass. It really delivered on all fronts. Acting, costumes, cinematography, everything. This is also going to compete for a lot of Oscars, that's a guarantee. The other day, I walked out of another movie, and I heard Stellan Skarsgård's voice from another theater, so I walked in for a sec, and was really tempted to stay for the rest, but it was late, and the movie had like an hour and a half to go. Anyways, I love Dune. The Last Duel was also pretty epic at times, but had some quieter dramatic scenes too. It's about a woman in France who is raped by her husband's sort of friend, sort of rival, and Adam Driver and Matt Damon eventually have to duel to the death to prove whether or not she's telling the truth. As with every great movie, the performances are stellar, especially from Jodie Comer, who plays the woman in question. Not an easy watch at times, but you should definitely give this movie a chance. It's one of the year's best. 3 movies to talk about here, so I'll have to be brief. Each one of these were really solid the first time I saw them, but I think they'll all get better over the years because they each have a lot of complexity and there's just lots to chew on. The French Dispatch has tons of detail and is literally a collection of stories, so it was kind of a lot to digest the first time. Licorice Pizza, on the other hand, is really well made, and a lot of the jokes and storylines are sort of undersold, so I can see myself catching a lot of new things with more viewings. The Green Knight is special to me for several reasons, though. This year I read a King Arthur novel called The Once and Future King, which I absolutely loved, and the main character in The Green Knight, Sir Gawain, is an important character in that story too. This movie asks a lot of great questions about chivalry, bravery, and keeping your word. It's probably the movie I thought about most this year. Look, I'm sorry, but someone's got to say it. Spider-Man was really fun the first time, but I'm not sure it's a great movie. In a few years, after the novelty of the big reveals has worn off, I think people are going to start asking questions about the movie's plot holes and the premise itself. Actually, let me just ask one right now. What's the big deal with everyone knowing Peter's secret identity? Because he's just a kid? So what? For starters, he's 17, not 10, and there's tons of famous teenagers in the real world. It's a good movie for now, but I don't think anyone will consider it Marvel's best in a few years. And then we have Dune. Surprised I'm saying that? Yeah, me too, kind of. Sure, it's my favorite movie of the year, but it's just part one of the story, and when part two comes out, I think people are going to look back at this as a great setup to the larger, more exciting conclusion in the next movie. I think people are going to sort of forget about it and just skip over it and go to part two. Okay, so these movies were both pretty good, especially West Side Story, but I wanted to bring them up for special reasons. For West Side Story, my brother is in the movie as an extra. He's in the gym scene where Tony and Maria meet for the first time. And when me and my family saw the movie together, we were able to spot him dancing in the background 3 or 4 times, and that was really fun. Great job, Luke. Very proud of you, buddy. No Sudden Move is noteworthy because it was shot in Detroit, and unlike other movies shot in the city, they don't just cover everything up, and there's more than just 5 seconds of recognizable architecture. The houses were quintessential Detroit homes, and they also shot in the Fisher Building, which obviously looks amazing in the movie. I don't know for a fact that these are sleeper picks or that they flew under people's radar. I just haven't heard many people talk about them, and I almost skipped out on seeing them myself, but I'm glad I didn't. Stillwater is about a southern guy, played by Matt Damon, whose college-age daughter gets arrested in Paris and accused of murdering her roommate. Matt Damon then flies to Paris and for several months lives there and does whatever he can to get her acquitted. Zola is about strippers from Detroit, coincidentally, who go to Florida for a weekend to make some quick cash and hijinks ensue. Both of these movies have great performances and well-written plots, but what they each do best is shift their tone. Zola is super funny most of the time until someone pulls out a gun and then it's deadly serious. Stillwater starts out as a drama and then shifts to a thriller and then somehow a romance and then goes back to being a thriller, and amazingly, it all works. I highly recommend both of these movies. Go check them out. And that's it. That was my year in movies. Shout out to everyone I saw movies with this year. Seeing them with friends made everything more fun. Thanks for watching this video. Please give it a like and leave a comment of what was your favorite movie. What did you love? What did you hate? Or come at me for my Spider-Man take. I don't care. All right. Peace.